All right, thanks for joining everyone. This is the second video of the day. Wanted to get this real quick one out and address what Sister Pamela had to say about the 1,260 days increment, which is found in three places, Revelation 11, 12, and 13. And the point of what she was referring to, or is referring to, which is very instrumental in the breakdown of the non-existing 7 years. 1 week does exist, or did exist, actually. We're not denying that fact. But it's not addressing the fact that it was Christ. We say this over and over and over again, incessantly. It was Jesus Christ who fulfilled that first half of Daniel's last 70th week. And so you only have 3.5 years left. And what Sister Pamela, let's go into what she said real quick as kind of a recap. I don't know how anyone can miss it when the word plainly says of 3.5 years, 1,260 days. So that is the crux of the whole issue right there, because it's 3.5 years. And it does not, see, the problem is that there's no linkage in Revelation to support. Now, you got to have a little finesse with this in understanding, but what the 7-year pre-trib dispensationalists try to do is they try to break that down into the good tribulation and the very bad tribulation. We won't go into all of that terminology, but they cannot, there is no 7 years in Revelation. To make a long story short, to really get down to the crunch time of the issue that surrounds this whole thing, on 7 years, the last week of Daniel prophecy, Daniel 9, 24 to 27. There's only 3.5 years. That is represented, again, in Revelation 11, 12, and 13 chapters, okay? So what they have to do is try to coerce it or connive it out of Daniel 9, 24 to 27. But in the middle of the week, the sacrifice and the oblation were ceased. It was Jesus Christ who ceased that work. Now here, I'm going to show you something, and this really kind of burns my bridge right here, because it has to do with the modern day. See, the 1830s was all about John Nelson Darby. I got his original books from England from the 1800s. Yeah, I got his original material, the synopsis of the Bible, that precipitated the C.I. Scofield and the Clarence Larkins and the Hal Lindseys and all these people. I got their material. We have done a lot of research on this, a lot of reading, and it all supports the fact that it was, is, and forever shall be Jesus Christ who performed those miraculous forever events, fulfilling those 7 prerequisites of Daniel 9:24 that we talk about all the time. Do you want to hear them again? To finish the transgression, make an end of sins, make reconciliation for iniquity, bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal out the vision of the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy and or the holy of holies. It was Jesus Christ who did that. It was after, just like the word says, after the 62 weeks. So you take the 7 weeks, first increment. This is just the way it breaks down, okay? We explained this the other day, or today as a matter of fact, in the morning. And you have the 7 times 7 is 49, 7 times 62 is 434. 49 plus 434 equals 483, leaving 1 week left. It was after the 62 weeks that Jesus Christ fulfilled his mission, his ministry, which is synonymous with his mission. Now, nobody wants to, they don't, see, this will shoot down in flames. A burning, flaming wreckage that gets shot down when you point these things out to the 7-year dispensational people. They've invested a lot of money, a lot of time. They have high-class, just professionally produced books, movies, literature, you name it. It makes a lot of money. Tickles a lot of ears, gets a lot of serious, big-time number audiences, and it's a seller. It's what people want to hear. They want to hear. It's like a spiritual dopamine. I say this all the time. I used to be a Catholic for 42 years. It's just like being a Catholic with their dopamine, which is the purgatory, which they erroneously take out of a non-canonical book, Second Maccabees, just out of the blue, and they got their purgatory. It provides their dopamine level. Just like the 7-year dispensationalist pre-trib crowd, it provides their dopamine level as well. But people don't want to look at that, because you're looking down the throat of the lion when you point these things out. And people don't want to hear it, because they believe in strength in numbers. They believe in dialogue to consensus. What do you think? How do you feel? What's your opinion? But I'm going to close it with this right here. Because not only is there no 7 years, there's no 7 years anyway. No matter how much you try to get milk out of a turnip, I think that's an old saying, you can't do it. You might as well go out and pound sand, because that's what you're going to do. I did it myself. I did the schematics for it. Matter of fact, here it is. I did this, me, on 1/7. Can you see that? Wait. Yeah, 1/7 of 2003. Over 22 years ago. 22 and a half years ago I did this. It's been a while. It's been a while. I was a pre-trib dispensational guru back in the day. I wanted to be up there with Perry Stone. I wanted to be up there with the biggies, okay? Wrote this thing out, the whole bit. Very detailed. Connecting what I thought was the proper and appropriate linkage as per the references, and all of that. this material here that I wrote, 1/7 of 2003, I'm going to tell you right now. Listen. If you take 100 and or 100%, what percent do you think I was with this material? It's got my name on it, that I distributed. I was 100% wrong. Period. But people don't care. They don't care. Because it's what do you think, how do you feel, what's your opinion? And if they got strength in numbers, then they feel, oh yeah, I've got that dopamine. It can't be wrong if I get the dopamine. That's all I want is the dopamine. Just like the Roman Catholics have their purgatory. The Roman Catholics, I'm going to step on a lot of toes tonight. The Roman Catholics, they can do whatever they want during the week. You Roman Catholics know what I'm talking about. But as long as you're on that particular pew, in that particular church, that is part of your home parish, in other words, for that Mass, every Sunday, and you got your little envelope and you fill it out, you know what I'm talking about. You can do anything you want. As long as you're at that Mass, you got your envelope, and you got purgatory to back you up. You Roman Catholics know what I'm talking about. That's why I got out. I was told to get out. I know you've heard this story a lot of times, but it's just the way it is. And then I kind of bumped around, got into this garbage here, this eschatological tripe that I put out. It's got my name on the second page. My name. 100% wrong. I will get into this. What I wanted to get to was Hal Lindsey. Hal Lindsey is the father, as much as John Nelson Darby was the father of the 1800s, per se, circa 1830s, of the genesis and the nucleus of the 7-year pre-trib rapture theory, heresy. Then it went down, gradually up through the decades. By the time it got to Hal Lindsey is your modern day eschatological, that means prophetic father. For all you 7-year pre-trib rapture people out there, he is your father, your founding father. Oh yeah. Late great planet Earth, 1970. Oh yeah, he was so wrong on that. And then this book right here, The Rapture, got his name right there, August of 1983. Oh yeah. He said, well, it's a generation from 1948, which is when the 6-point star people became a nation again. So that'd be a generation, would be 1988. So he wrote it in 1983. And he was wrong. 2 major chronological predictions. Major wrong in 2 chronological predictions. Major wrong. Oh yeah. But I'm going to leave you with this thought. This is how you have to know. Once you get a grasp, I'll put it like this. Once you get a grasp, when you can stand off and look at this, at the basic breadth, scope, depth, and width of this whole schematic of what they purport to, you know that it's wrong. So what are you going to do about it? There is no support for a pre-trib rapture. When does the rapture happen? We don't have a problem with the rapture happening. You don't have a problem with that. Not a problem at all. And it's right before Armageddon. Because we've said this many, many times, the 6th seal, because the 7th seal is silence in heaven for the space of half an hour. So the 6th seal, which is a basic nuclear holocaust, the 7th trumpet and the 7th vial all end in the wrath of God, which coincides with Revelation 16:15 for the rapture, right before Armageddon, which is 16:16 Rev. We don't have a problem. There's no problem. But when you have people that are believing that it's going to be 7 years, not only do you have the major problem that Jesus Christ, you take him out of, literally, no pun intended, you take him out of the picture, and you attribute the works of Christ to the introduction of the Antichrist, plus the fact that there was no 7 years. There was no support for 7 years. Even the sister Pamela brought that up, and she brought up a very valid point with 1,260 days, 3.5 years based on a 30-day lunar calendar. Or times dividing of a time, 42 months, which is all basic. They're all the same. Revelation 11, 12, and 13. 3.5 years. And don't go into trying to linear literalize this with the 3 woes. No, you're missing the point. If you have to go down that rabbit hole, we're not going to go down with it, with you. We're not going to go down that bottomless pit of a hole of theology. So don't try that, please. Okay, come on. We know what you're up to. Again, I used to be one of you guys. Back 22.5 years ago, I used to be one of you. So, which is neither here nor there, but here's what Hal Lindsey writes. This was published in August, the rapture. His name is associated with bad, very bad theology. This is how bad it gets. August of 1983, page 3. Let's read verbatim. The prophecy then forecasts that 2 historical events would take place after the 483 years. Now listen closely. This is what you call a very slick tongue. He is couching this in a very, very slick manner. And if he was alive, I'd go right up to him and I'd say, Hal, why did you do that? Why? Because he had to know. He was a graduate of the vaunted Dallas Theological Seminary. I'd say, Hal, you had to know what you were doing. The prophecy then forecasts that 2 historical events would take place after the 483 years. After the 483 years. Just like it says in Daniel 9:24 to 27. And the sacrifice and the oblation were ceased in the middle of the week. That was Jesus Christ, not your stinking Antichrist. Get it through your head. I had to. Why can't you? Listen to this. 2 historical events would take place after the 483 years, but before the final 7 allotted years. What kind of claptrap is that, Hal? You're not around anymore. You died last year. Late last year, you passed away. Can't ask you anymore. What is this? After the 483 years? But like you say, per your pros, or your non-wisdom, but before. How can it be after, but before? That is so indicative of hypocrisy. It makes you a eschatological hypocrite, Hal. So let's just say I'm a minister, which I know for a lot of people that's a stretch. Let's just say I told my family, I said, okay, it's Sunday, the first day of the week, I'm gonna go and work for half a week, for 3.5 days. This will be my last week of working, and I will work half the week. And I will be home in the middle of the week. So Hal, using that descriptor or description or qualification, however you want to paraphrase it, how can you say after the 483 years, but before the final 7 allotted years? Hal, I'm going to put this in the common parlance. That doesn't make any stinking sense. And you had millions and millions and millions of people. And you made millions and millions of dollars, Hal. And you took Jesus Christ out of his ministry. And on top of that, you attributed his works to the devil. For everybody else out there, I know I talk a lot about this stuff. But we have to. We have to. Most people will not get through this whole video, and I'm sorry we're running long here, but I'll try to crunch it down. But here's one final point on Mr. Lindsey. And then you have the audacity, Mr. Lindsey, Hal Lindsey, you have the presumptuous audacity to say one paragraph later, God obviously, now you're speaking for God, Hal. God obviously stopped the prophetic stopwatch after it had ticked off 483 years. Well, if it ticked off, like you say, had ticked off after 483 years, then how could it be before the final 7 allotted years, Hal? How can that be, Hal? How? Hal? It's just too bad you had to pass away last year, Hal. We would have loved to talk to you in person, toe-to-toe, eyeball to eyeball, Hal. Would have loved to have conversed with you. People, look, this comes down to who do you place your trust, your faith, your hope, your confidence in? Is it going to be Jesus Christ who confirmed that covenant? Or is it going to be the Antichrist with a fallacious 7-year peace deal, and then in the middle of the supposed 7 years, which has all been coerced and concocted and connived, he walks into the temple, and the temple is now within with a peace treaty. You know why? Because he's already residing in your temple right now. All you 7-year pre-trib rapture enthusiasts, you better get out of that modality. When this stuff, it's ramping up right now. Look at what's going on. Okay? And see, here's the final thought. Do not, and this is why I like what Sister Pamela put in there about the 1,260 days, which is 3.5 years, which is in Revelation, either Revelation 11, 12, or 13. So don't say, oh no, Jarhead, you got to go over to 2 Thessalonians 2:4, 2:3-4. The man of sin, son of perdition, because they're both capitalized. That wicked one is also capitalized. Oh really? Okay. We'll play along with that game for you. With you, whatever. But however, comma. What about the 4th seal? White, red, black, and pale. What about that rider? It's actually, the etymology on the word is chloros, which is green. And a lot of dispensationalists will say, well, that's got to be the Muslims. That's your rabbit hole. Ain't going to climb down it with you. No. Not going to go there. Because it has hell and death. Hell and death. The rider of the pale horse, which is chloros again. The 4th horseman. Death and hell are both capitalized. So if you're going to see your physicality or your anthropomorphization, which is a fancy word for assigning human-like qualities to the Antichrist, then you're going to have to be able to see, because you have to remain with a consistent exegetical rendering of that proper noun of death and hell, which are both capitalized. So we know what you're going to say. We'll save that for another discussion. It's been a long day, long night. We'll talk to you soon. Just remember, these things are deep things. And if you get this one thing wrong, and if you take away Jesus Christ and his fulfillment of that prophecy, that he ceased that prophecy in the middle of the week, the sacrifice and the oblation were ceased. If you take him out of the picture, out of his rightful place, that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. But you're going to have to deal with that. Because not only are you going to wake up one of these days, it could be soon, and you're going to say, I kind of think I'm in the tribulation right now. What are you going to do then? What if COM goes down? What if all these grids go down? Who knows what's going to happen? But we can tell you what is going to eventually happen after we get through the horsemen, souls under the altar, the sixth seal, which is nuclear holocaust, which what amounts to. You might not even have the ugly jarhead talking to you like you do right now. Probably not. You're going to be on your own. So you better know these things. And they're not hard to pick up on, but most people don't want to because it bothers their dopamine level. We'll leave it there. If you're around to stay around and get this word out there, please help row the boat. Love you guys. We'll talk soon.